While Shedeur may not have had reps with the ones, what else do you want them to do in Cleveland? It's an opportunity for him. It may not be the ideal opportunity. Very rarely is it for a 5th round pick, but it's an opportunity for him to go out there and do in a game what many have reported he's done in practice. Stop with the setup to fail narrative.
Analysis on Shedeur Sanders for the people that messaged me, Uncle Tom, or commented, fool. I do want to say something to you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and that's kiss my. I'm not going to holler sabotage and racism when I don't truly believe something is sabotage and racism. I did have a problem with the way Shedeur Sanders was covered in the pre-draft process. The anonymous reports demeaning a young man's character who had never done anything wrong away from the field, had never shown anything.
Ryan Clark completely snapped on Dan Orlovsky, and the ESPN studio instantly turned into chaos. Dan had the nerve to throw slick shade before the Lions even touched the field, and Ryan Clark was not letting that slide at all. What started as light pregame talk exploded into a full-on verbal takedown, live on television. This wasn't analysis or debate. It was a roast, a clap back, and a meltdown all rolled into one moment that had the whole set frozen in shock. You could feel the tension bleeding through the screen. Faces were tight, voices were sharp, and the energy shifted fast. This was one of those moments where you know something went way off script. Ryan Clark didn't just show up to work that day, he came ready to unload. Dan Orlovsky, the former quarterback turned analyst with a history of shaky takes, found himself directly in the line of fire, and there was no escape. It all started during what was supposed to be a calm discussion about Arch Manning being labeled a generational talent.
Things got real heated in the ESPN studios as Ryan Clark completely destroyed Dan Orlovsky over his Arch Manning generational take. Now, we've seen Dan Orlovsky's bad take on Shedeur Sanders, and Ryan Clark has had enough. But we're going to, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, it seems like Ryan Clark has had enough of Dan Orlovsky's bad takes when it comes to these quarterbacks. Now, we all seen and we've all heard Dan Orlovsky's take on Shedeur Sanders. We also seen him compare Dylan Gabriel to Shedeur.
Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. That topic turned into gasoline on a fire. Dan Orlovsky leaned all the way into the hype, crowning Arch as the future of football before he's even proven anything at the next level. Meanwhile, Ryan Clark sat there silent, wearing that look that says, "You really want to go there?" Then it happened. Ryan Clark exploded, tearing into the broken system that lets former average quarterbacks hand out crowns like candy. This wasn't disagreement. This was exposure. Clark broke it down piece by piece, calling out how potential gets inflated while proof gets ignored. The studio went dead quiet because everyone knew he was cooking something serious. Dan tried to fight back with numbers, rattling off measurements like they were bulletproof facts. 6'4", 225 pounds, clocked at 21 miles per hour on GPS. He thought those stats would end the conversation. Instead, Ryan Clark shut it all down with one sentence that rocked the room. He said, "You don't need a pedometer to know if a quarterback can dominate because running fast doesn't make you Lamar Jackson." That line landed like a brick. You could practically see Dan Orlovsky deflate. The power of Clark's response wasn't about data. It was about truth.
So talent is different. Who are generationally talented quarterbacks to you?
I mean, present day or college kids?
If you go present
Like in
day,
the NFL?
In the NFL, who's a
Lamar.
He ain't Lamar.
I'm not saying he's Lamar,
But it's the other thing, though. The people you're comparing him to, right? Like, let's just talk about the people you're comparing him to. You know what Lamar Jackson had by this point in college? A Heisman.
But Lamar played a lot more. He had stopped.
Because he was that good.
RC, Lamar's first start, he went 9 of 20 with a pick.
This is third start. Stop saying it's
against
his
a
third.
real opponent.
It's his third.
Against a real opponent.
And also, too.
Okay,
it's
so we
his
can go
third
to
year in college.
But he hasn't played ball.
Because you know why? Because if you're Trevor Lawrence and you're a transcendent generational quarterback talent, Kelly Bryant can be the income.
He exposed a deeper issue that nobody likes to talk about. Average quarterbacks love hyping up average situations because it makes them feel validated. They confuse safety with greatness and potential with production. Clark made it clear this behavior has been happening for years. Analysts overhyping unproven names while dismissing quarterbacks who've already shown they can perform under pressure, acting like they're the gatekeepers of greatness. deciding who gets respect and who gets ignored. And let's be honest, this moment wasn't really about Arch Manning. He was just the spark. The real name hovering over that entire exchange was Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who's been producing, leading, taking hits, and still getting brushed aside by analysts who refuse to give real credit where it's earned. Ryan Clark didn't even have to say Shedeur Sanders out loud. By dismantling Dan's logic, he exposed the industry bias loud and clear, the same bias that rushes to crown untested prospects while overlooking players who actually shine when the lights are brightest. And just when you thought it couldn't get any heavier, Clark dropped one final line so cold, so sharp, it instantly locked this moment into sports TV history forever. I don't care what that little vest you wear on top of your nipples says.
Talent? Then who is? And how are we measuring it? Because we can't sit there and go, because of the way the first start on the road.
There's very few of them. I think there's less than what you think. I think John Elway was a generational talent. I think Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. I think Andrew Luck ended up being a generational talent. I don't think there's a ton of them out there.
But so then what? Then how does one, in your eyes, be a generational talent? Because there's not a
Boom, mic drop moment. The second Ryan Clark fired off that line, the entire room froze like someone hit pause on reality. No laughter, no side chatter, just shock hanging in the air because everyone knew they had just witnessed something legendary. That moment was straight up television gold. Watching Dan Orlovsky scramble to protect his precious stats, analytics, and manufactured hype, while Ryan Clark calmly dismantled every point with pure logic felt almost unreal. It was like watching someone proudly build a sandcastle right before a tsunami rolled in, and that tsunami's name was Ryan Clark. Clark didn't just bring opinions, he brought proof. He started naming real generational quarterbacks, the ones who actually changed football the second they stepped on campus. Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams, Lamar Jackson. Those guys didn't wait for permission, didn't hide behind projections, and didn't need analysts to validate them.
He keeps on bigging up Arch Manning to make Arch Manning one of the greatest quarterbacks he's seen in college history. Now, there's a long list of quarterbacks that we can talk about in college that was great. But the thing about it is Dan Orlovsky's takes on these quarterbacks, because Dan Orlovsky was a quarterback himself. And like I stated to you guys, man, Dan Orlovsky likes mediocrity. He likes mediocre players because he was a mediocre quarterback himself. And Dan Orlovsky's takes on these quarterbacks is downright asinine. And Ryan Clark wastes no time in destroying everything that he has to say about.
They dominated immediately. They flipped programs overnight. Coaches adjusted, critics backed off, and fans had no choice but to believe, every single time. That's when Clark leaned into the point that made everyone sit forward. Shedeur Sanders. This is a quarterback who walked into Jackson State and Colorado and completely transformed entire cultures, winning games, changing expectations, and raising the standard. And yet somehow he's still talked down to by analysts who should absolutely know better. It's ridiculous. It's insulting. And honestly, watching Dan Orlovsky squirm while trying to explain it away was pure comedy. That's when Dan tried one last pivot, tossing out talks about NIL money like that was the real reason the narrative feels off. Ryan Clark didn't even blink. He shut that down instantly. He made it clear that generational talent doesn't wait on contracts, deals, or narratives. It forces recognition. It doesn't ask politely. It demands respect. And that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders has done. His presence alone forces coaches to rewrite game plans. Fans tune in. Entire programs rise. He's not just playing football. He's redefining what dominance looks like right in front of everyone's eyes. And the wild part? He's doing all of this while so-called experts still act like they don't see it. Meanwhile, Orlovsky is still clinging to that little vest like a security blanket, staring at speed numbers and measurements, trying to justify hype over actual production. It's almost tragic and hilarious at the same time. Because what Ryan Clark did in that moment went way beyond defending Shedeur Sanders. He exposed an entire broken system hiding in plain sight. He pulled the curtain back on analysts who build stories off bloodlines, hype, and clear bias. They confuse potential with proof.
100%.
Can you define to me what that means?
Well, generational talent would be that you have physical attributes that are rare and unique. When did
6'4", 225 pounds, 4'5", 4'6" in the 40.
None of those things.
100%. He's 100% 6'4", 220 plus pounds, and is like 4'5", 4'6" and 40. Got clocked at 21 miles an hour on GPS. When did that not become at the quarterback spot generational physical ability, let alone elite, rare bloodlines when it comes to the quarterback position?
What that means. Multiple teams, 32 teams passed on him multiple times. And now you want me to say the one team that did decide to draft him doesn't have his best interests at heart. The thing is, he was a 5th round draft picks. 5th round draft picks get 5th round treatment, even if we don't feel like they deserve to be drafted in the 5th round. So you're going to play with some guys who don't make the team. You know who else you're going to play against? Some guys that don't make the team.
They crown untested players as the next big thing while ignoring quarterbacks who've already delivered results under pressure. This wasn't subtle. It was obvious. It was uncomfortable. And Ryan Clark made dismantling it look effortless. You could practically see years of empty talking points melt away in real time. Dan tried to pivot again. Different eras, different competition levels, more NIL talk. But it was already over. That narrative collapsed faster than a cheap lawn chair in a hurricane. The audience felt it. His credibility was fading right there on camera. And the best part? Ryan Clark wasn't yelling or reaching. He was calm, precise, and deadly accurate. Ryan Clark didn't just hit him with opinions. He hit him with truth and straight-up common sense. He asked the one question that flipped the entire table and exposed the madness instantly. If Arch Manning is being labeled generational after just 3 career starts, then what does that make Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who's been dominating for years? The production is there. The wins are there. The clutch moments are undeniable. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need hype to prop him up. His game is the evidence. Everyone watching knew it, even if the media refuses to admit it out loud. Everywhere Shedeur Sanders goes, the program changes immediately. Culture shifts, expectations rise, wins follow. And yet the media machine keeps looking the other way. Instead of celebrating what's real, they keep pushing hype while ignoring proof sitting right in front of their faces. The irony couldn't be louder. And there sat Dan Orlovsky, a man paid to evaluate quarterbacks, getting schooled live on air about what real talent actually looks like. Still, somehow, he kept lecturing about potential and projection like nothing just happened. It was comedy and chaos wrapped into one unforgettable moment. Ryan Clark wasn't just debating. He was dismantling the entire system brick by brick.
Moves slowly, kind of trying to see what's going on, and then that creates that sack fumble. So a lot of the stuff that we just saw in college is a big deal. This ball gets snapped at the 48-yard line. Mm-hmm. Defense has won the rep. Play is dead. Throw the ball away. Yep. It's first down. But instead we run and it's a 2.5, 3-yard loss. So instead of being 2nd and 10, we're 2nd and 13. We're dead. Again, here's the opportunity to throw the juke route. Hold, scramble. So some of those things that I was and others were concerned about on the college tape showed itself again. This is not the end of the world, though. This is part of his development in becoming a potential starting.
He exposed the lazy logic that props up mediocrity while downplaying elite players like Shedeur Sanders. No yelling, no theatrics, just surgical precision. You could see the audience catching on in real time. Every time Orlovsky squirmed, the truth landed harder. It was controlled destruction, clean and undeniable. But this moment wasn't only about one quarterback or one analyst. This was about the entire sports media cycle that keeps recycling the same biased storylines. Quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders are forced to climb uphill every single day, not because they lack skill, but because they don't fit the safe, traditional mold. The media loves bloodlines. They love nostalgia. They love comfort. And they'll twist reality to protect it. Ryan Clark ripped that curtain wide open, exposing the favoritism, the bias, and the flat-out absurdity running the show. Here's the wild part. Clark didn't even have to say Shedeur Sanders' name for everyone to know exactly who he was talking about. By breaking down Orlovsky's logic, he exposed the double standard baked deep into the system. That's when the fallout started. Dan, desperate to regain control, went back to physical measurables, GPS speed, that infamous vest again, grasping for numbers to save a narrative that was already falling apart. Ryan Clark didn't blink. He fired right back. You can't measure heart, poise, or leadership with a speedometer. That line hit hard because it's true. You can't quantify soul. You can't fake the ability to walk into a program and transform it. Calling someone generational after 3 starts while ignoring a quarterback who proves it every week isn't just wrong, it's laughable.
Shedeur Sanders is being set up to fail narrative. Who do you want to start the game? It's preseason week 1. First option, Joe Flacco. He's played for like 20 years. He's not going to start preseason week 1. The next 2 options would be a Kenny Pickett or a Dylan Gabriel. Both are dealing with hamstring injuries. Neither has practiced a ton recently. If they've done anything, I believe it's been 7-on-7. Who do you want to start the game? The next 2 options are Shedeur and Snoop Huntley. Shedeur's been...
That vest line wasn't just funny, it was devastating. It summed up the insanity perfectly. Analytics without context don't tell the full story. Ryan Clark made that crystal clear. Generational players don't need hype machines or fancy metrics. They show you. And Shedeur Sanders is living proof. He walks into struggling programs, flips them into winners, delivers in clutch moments, earns veteran respect, and still gets undervalued by the media. It's wild. It's frustrating. And it's comedy gold all at once. Clark's knockout punch landed when he broke it down one last time. Generational talent doesn't wait for approval. It takes over immediately. It forces change. It shifts culture. Look at Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson. They walked in and owned the moment. Meanwhile, Dan Orlovsky is still locked in on speed charts and GPS numbers, completely missing the bigger picture. He's staring at data points while the real game is happening right in front of him.
Fact, RC, I thought you described it very well in our meeting this morning, what it is they are and aren't doing.
Yeah, what it is that they're doing is they're treating Shedeur Sanders like a 5th-round pick.
Right.
Right? We're not covering every 5th-round pick in the NFL hoping that he gets an opportunity to be the starter on day 1. We felt like, oh my goodness, they got a diamond in the rough. Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round. They felt like they evaluated him there, and that's where they picked him.
The irony is sharp. The comedy hits hard, but underneath it all, the truth stings for anyone who actually loves football. Watching that bias play out in real time is frustrating and impossible to ignore. By the end of it, you realize this showdown was never just about Arch Manning or Shedeur Sanders. It was a full-blown reality check for the entire sports media industry. Analysts like Orlovsky are supposed to bring clarity and honesty, but instead they fuel the hype machine. They glorify the unproven while brushing aside quarterbacks who actually show up and deliver when it matters. Ryan Clark ripped that illusion apart in one sitting. Calm, composed, surgical. No yelling, no theatrics, no desperate reaching. He let truth do the damage. And when truth lands clean, it's louder than any shout could ever be. Clark didn't exaggerate or twist words. He didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. And Dan Orlovsky learned the hard way just how flimsy his so-called analysis really was when it faced real scrutiny.
And this is just my opinion, it's time for Deion to let go a little bit, right? It's time for, if you're saying this about Shedeur, you get to say that now because I'm not his coach anymore. If Shedeur is dealing with this certain level of adversity, yeah, I'm on the phone with him. Yeah, I'm in his room and we're having conversations. But when he goes to work, he has to go to work as a man, right? Shedeur Sanders is going to be leading dudes that were like you in the league, that were like you, that were like me. At the time, you had kids and were married. I had kids and was married. Chan, you was a grown man that said, I can go in the streets every night and I can come in here.
Watching it unfold felt like a masterclass in sports media accountability. And at the same time, it was pure comedy gold. Dan was stammering, fumbling over his words, desperately trying to defend hype and numbers. Meanwhile, Ryan Clark calmly picked apart every crack in his logic like it was nothing. It was brutal, and somehow beautiful, like a slow-motion train wreck you couldn't look away from. If that train was loaded with bad quarterback takes, Ryan Clark was tossing truth grenades into every single car. The chaos felt real. It felt earned. And by the time Ryan was finished, Orlovsky's credibility was dust, gone. The entire audience knew it. Analysts, fans, everyone watching saw it clearly. Here's the simple truth that came out of that moment. If you're relying on Orlovsky to tell you who's elite, you might as well flip a coin. Real talent doesn't need hype. Real talent doesn't beg for validation. It forces it. And that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders represents. He's the living example of skill, poise, leadership, and production speaking louder than any media narrative. You can't fake that kind of impact. That's why this moment will live forever in sports media history. Ryan Clark didn't just win a debate, he exposed an entire mindset. He held a mirror up to the system, and the reflection was ugly, hilarious, and completely deserved. Remember this moment. Remember the chaos. Remember that little vest line that shook the internet and froze the entire studio? And remember Ryan Clark standing tall, calmly dismantling a so-called expert who thought he could talk louder than the truth, and getting exposed in front of everyone. Let's be real for a second. The tape never lies, results don't lie, and real talent always forces recognition, whether people like it or not. Shedeur Sanders has proven himself at every single level, high school, college, every stop along the way. He's walked into struggling programs and flipped them almost overnight.
Ryan Clark. Okay, let's pull up your stats. Second team All-SEC. We cannot relate. Undrafted in 2002. We cannot relate. Then you have one Pro Bowl in 2011. We cannot relate. So if you want to unlock Petty Cam, and everything that Cam Newton has ever said on this 4th and 1 show has always been backed by merit and logic, but some way, shape, form, people keep attacking Cam the person, or why he didn't jump on the fumble, why he didn't do this, or comparing and contrasting. So when I compare and contrast you guys' statistics and Dan Orlovsky, never mind. But as we keep going and we keep unlocking and keep poking the bear, and y'all want to play this game,
He's delivered in clutch moments, played his best when pressure was at its highest, earned the respect of teammates older than him, veterans who've been around the game. And somehow, despite all that, he's still fighting through unfair narratives from people who should absolutely know better. It's wild. Analysts like Dan Orlovsky will keep pushing mediocrity, selling empty stats, safe storylines, and comfort takes. But moments like this remind everyone what actually matters: credibility, consistency, leadership, and real performance. Hype fades, measurables age, nostalgia clouds judgment, but production speaks forever. The real ones see it, the fans feel it, and the results speak loud and clear whether the media likes it or not. And as for Dan Orlovsky, maybe it's time to upgrade that vest, because the next time someone with real football knowledge calls you out, numbers and fabric won't save the take. The truth hit harder than any tackle, and the entire sports world felt it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this moment, and don't forget to subscribe. See you on the next one.